favorite color. It's not my favorite color, but it was certainly my lucky color.
Right. You guys were there for the Rougeau's Bulldogs heat that they had. What was your take on that whole situation between the two teams?
Well, every dog has his day. I think I got a really good take on it. I said it both parties pretty well. Me and Jim were working with the Rougeaus at the time, and Bulldogs were like our best buddies down there. But Dynamite was, had suffered, measurably from a small man complex, and really had a chip on his shoulder that way. And it always, it was like a little pit bull that had gotten into a lot of scraps. That old saying, "What every dog has his day," is a true saying. And what happened was Kurt Hennig had been ribbing the Rougeaus, and Rougeaus didn't know who it was. They assumed it was Kurt, but Kurt was so clever in how he hid it from the Rougeaus that they didn't know who it was. And so Jacques ratted out Dynamite to the head office, to Vince or whatever, or said he did. I don't know if he did, but he complained that Dynamite had screwed with his stuff.
Right.
I think Kurt was kept ribbing him, and so Kurt, I don't think he meant it. I don't think anyone had any real. No one ever saw that it was going to get into this big of a deal. But Kurt came in and said, he's in there saying, the Rougeaus are saying it was you. Dynamite, he told Dynamite this. So Dynamite gets all, he was like, I think, looking for a reason to finally have a chance to snatch Jacques, who had a lot of friction sometimes with guys like Dynamite and stuff. He was a little too much of, I don't even know how to say it, but Jacques sometimes wore out guys like Dynamite. It was the clash of personalities.
Mm-hmm.
So Dynamite walked in on Jacques and slapped him with an open hand slap while he was playing cards. He just slapped him and knocked him off his chair. Basically, he almost knocked him out cold. But an open hand slap from behind is pretty stiff. And Jacques, well, I don't think he ever thought of himself as a real tough guy. He got up and said, "What's your problem?" And he kind of had words.
Right.
Dynamite, I think Jacques threw a couple punches at Dynamite. Dynamite took him down and choked him out in the dressing room. Embarrassed him a couple of times. The last time he front face locked him and took him down. While he was choking him out, he taunted Ray and said, "Come on, Ray, whatever you want, join in. You can come in, join in anytime you want." And Ray had just injured his knee 2 or 3 nights before. He actually had the ice bag on his knee, so he wasn't faking nothing. And he was still working with me in gym every night. But Ray, who was a pretty tough guy, was a Golden Belt boxing champion in Montreal and stuff, was easy to underestimate because Jacques was easygoing, but Ray was actually pretty salty, pretty tough, and might have given Dynamite a pretty good run for his money. And Dynamite kept taunting him that night. And what happened after that was that every night, Ray standing over Dynamite, who had Jacques in a front face lock, and Ray saying, "Just let him up." Ray was really good about it, like really calm, and it was just, you proved your point, just let him up. And Dynamite was pretty cocky and kept saying stuff like, ready for, if you want a piece to. The thing was that every night after that, for the next week, Dynamite kept walking in the dressing room, and most people forget those things happen in wrestling,
right.
Little problems. But Dynamite would come in, set his bag down, and go, "Hey Ray, how's your knee? Whatever you want." And he kept provoking and sticking it in Ray's eye. And I could tell, and Jim will probably remember, that every night we worked with the Rougeaus, they were getting more tense, that there was that relaxed working atmosphere between them. They were getting more, and it wasn't us, it was the Bulldogs were just really they were just thinking about
We didn't realize that they were in the other locker room.
And so it just got so tense. I remember telling Dynamite, said, "You better watch your back. These guys are pissed off, and they're really, and every Dynamite going, let him try. Like he wished he was willing it, provoking it every time he saw them." When the actual fight happened, Dynamite was, me and Jim were in, we weren't at the TV tapings that day, which is an odd thing. They flew us to somewhere out to California and work with the Bolsheviks in a dark spot show or whatever.
Right.
But the Rougeau's Jacques just decided that Raymond, I think Raymond getting Jacques, building him up and saying you can do it. And Dynamite was coming around the corner at the TVs in Toledo. And Jacques just sucker punched him when he came around the corner, just knocked all his teeth out, knocked smoke. Just gave one shot, overhand right punch as hard as he could, just drilled him in the face, knocked all his teeth out. And Dynamite never went down. Just stood there with his hands on his knees, bent over. And the two Rougeaus ran out and got in there, grabbed all their stuff, jumped in their car, and drove off. And then I think the thing that kind of killed the heart or killed the spirit in Dynamite was that after the show they didn't see the Rougeaus, and they had to go on a tour of Europe. It was a tour of France. The Rougeaus in Morocco and a bunch of guys went over to France, and then they got into all kinds of trouble over there, drunken, crazy, police, a lot of problems on the trip. And as a matter of fact, Morocco got fired and then they came back. But there was a lot of it was built around, because the Bulldogs were really popular with everybody. Everybody loved the Bulldogs. They were like two bad pit bulls, well, not even two, one bad pit bull. But everybody had a lot of respect for him. And I think when you see a tough guy like Dynamite have that happen to him, there's a certain heartbreak that goes with it. A lot of guys felt that with him. And Jacques was never a tough guy, never pretended to be. But he, what happened, I think, when they came back, without making a long story of it, is that Vince had Dynamite's SummerSlam check, they had the upcoming Survivor Series check, plus possibly maybe even his WrestleMania check. I can't remember if it took that long to get it in those days. But he had all his royalty checks. Dynamite had about $100,000 or so that Vince was holding,
just in case.
That was coming, that was due him. And when Dynamite came back from France, Vince said, "We got to shake hands and forget the whole thing." And Dynamite was like, everyone was waiting for Dynamite to, to fix the Rougeaus kind of thing. And I'm sure the Rougeaus figured that too. But I don't think Ray was afraid of it very much.
All right.
And Vince basically put it to Dynamite: you either shake hands or you don't get paid. And so Dynamite shook hands with Jacques Rougeau in a hotel room in San Francisco, and I think it broke his spirit. He shook hands and did everything the way he thought he should do at the time, and do this for his family, because it was. And he got the money and he went home and became a bitter alcoholic that just went downhill from there.
I just ate him up as time went on.
Just ate him up. And that old saying about every dog has his days. That was his day.
What are your guys' memories of your first title